Hey y'all, it's Zoe, your nutrition peer here, back at Nutrition Prep Notes for Prep Note number 3. Today we're going to be talking about the CNS exam application, and I'm so excited to share with you. Stay tuned. So today I'm going to be giving you my review of the application process, telling you a little bit about how it was for me, and then I'll give you an overview of the application process, and then talk with you about some of the components that may be considered a little bit more challenging. This is based off some of the feedback that I've gotten from other peers who are embarking on this process as well. So I think you'll enjoy this information. When it came to applying for the exam, I didn't open up my application until around February 17th, and that was for the June exam. And at this time, I had to go and, contact recommenders, start requesting transcripts and things like that. So this process really is, more of, it's definitely a formality, and then making sure that you're able to, as a candidate, provide all of the information that verifies that you have completed your acceptable education requirements, right? And so you can get those in detail of what those requirements are to make sure that you're eligible even to take the exam. You can get a list of what those requirements are in the BCNS Candidate Handbook. Y'all know I like that handbook. One of my favorite little little handbooks to help us stay in line and make sure that we're meeting the requirements we need to meet as candidates. So I'm definitely a fan of that little handbook. In one of my first videos, y'all, where's my handbook? It's actually down here. I told y'all I got mine printed and bound, and they do have an updated handbook for the 2026-2027 year. I'm just here to kind of give you my feedback on those things to help from a peer perspective. So definitely check out the handbook, read through that, and then also they have up-to-date information on the ana.org website as well. So check that out, make sure you read through it and that you're understanding what you're having to do. So the application process overall wasn't bad for me. I can't say I really necessarily enjoyed it. It was just one of those things we have to do in order to be approved to sit for the exam. I honestly think that you could complete your entire application in a day, and then the only thing you would have to wait on is just your recommenders to send in their recommendations. And then as far as your transcripts, wherever your school is at, most of them do electronic. Some of them might do paper, just depending on where you went to school and the time frame you were enrolled in your program. But you should be able to complete the portion that you're responsible for within a day or so, and then just wait on those other components to come in. And to check on whether or not those things arrived, because the BCNS will not tell you in your portal if your transcripts or your letters of recommendation have arrived. You'll have to reach out to them directly to ask, or you'll have to check back in with your recommenders. And then usually for transcripts, they do send confirmations, but just to make sure all your information is in before the application deadline, I would just send them a quick email at applications@nutritionspecialist.org to verify that all your paperwork is in the way that it needs to be. If you all find out something different, leave a comment below just to keep us all updated in the community, okay? Because we want to know. So that's pretty much it, you guys. I truly think you can pretty much get the application done within a day, including the coursework requirements form, and we're going to talk about that. So just to give you an overview of the process, you can create a CNS candidate portal account for free on the ana.org website, and I'll leave a direct link to that below. If you can't click that link, just let me know if you need the link, and I'll try to post it as a comment, and maybe that'll be clickable for you all. So once you create a candidate portal account, which is free, before you can start sending in application materials and getting the forms you need to fill out, as far as the coursework requirements form, and before you can submit your resume, you have to pay the $150 to open up the application. And once you pay that $150, then you're able to start sending in your supporting materials to where they need to go. Now, at this time, they do tell you to send your application materials to a specific email, and I'm going to refer you to the BCNS Certifications Handbook for the current year that you're testing and their website. And in the portal, I believe it does have the email link in there for you to start sending certain materials to that specific email address so that they can add it to your candidate account. Okay, so once you open up your application, the first little tab on there should be CNS Exam Application Survey, and you can click and complete. I really don't even remember what all was on that survey, but it's not hard at all. I think they're just getting some general information from you and learning a little bit more about, I think they ask you maybe who your recommenders are, and then they might ask you like about the nutrition program you completed or your healthcare program in there as well. And then the next thing is your coursework requirements form. Now this is going to take you a little bit of time. It shouldn't take too long if you have access to your transcripts from possibly undergrad and then especially from your graduate or professional program that you completed, because you're going to need the course information from those programs to put into the coursework requirement form. And in the portal, they do give you examples of what these look like. Okay, so if you took, like I took something called Clinical Intervention and Monitoring. So that was one of the graduate level courses that I listed. So you'll have to put the course name and number, NUTR, Clinical Intervention and Monitoring, and then you have to list the number of credit hours that the class gave. They also have a specific requirement on there based on whether or not your school did quarters or semesters. So make sure you follow those specific requirements they're asking you to and list that information on that form. There's a certain number of courses that you have to take in nutrition at the graduate level in order to qualify to sit for the exam. So make sure that you meet those numbers that they're asking for, and I believe it's 12. You have to have at least 12 hours of graduate credits in nutrition. And then for the rest of the requirements, biochemistry, then physiology and anatomy or physiology, clinical or life science, and then behavioral science courses. Those courses can come from undergrad as well. So keep that in mind. You may need your undergraduate transcript to support your coursework requirements form. So be prepared for that possible expense. And then you most definitely have to send in your transcript that has your graduate courses in nutrition in there as well. So keep that in mind. And they do give you examples. So take a look at their examples and just follow suit in the format. If you have a question about whether or not one of your courses you took qualifies for a certain section, send them an email. And they're really good at responding in my experience. And the earlier you get this portion complete too, you're not having to, be concerned about whether or not, you're on track to be eligible to take the exam for the testing window you're trying to sit for. So the earlier you get this done, you'll have your discrepancies and your questions answered, if any, concerning the coursework portion. If you're currently completing your master's program in nutrition or your health professional program right now, now's a good time to start making sure that as you're signing up for courses, you're completing the courses that will allow you to be eligible to sit for the CNS exam. So the third thing is the resume, and this is one of the things that comes with a lot of questions from some of our peers because there's a concern of whether or not they are qualified enough to apply to sit for the exam based on the level of experience they have had, right? So when it comes to this, you all, the thing about it is that if you're coming straight out of your graduate nutrition program, you're not going to have a ton of experience unless you do. Unless you do and you've been working in nutrition for a time. So for those of you who are already RDs or already MDs or health professionals and you've been working with clients and working with patients for quite some time, you'll have quite a bit of experience to put on your resume. But if you're a student just getting out of your graduate program and you have some observational hours under your belt and maybe you've done some practice sessions, practice nutrition consultations during your program, then you're not going to have a ton of experience, and that's okay. So when it comes to your resume, think in terms of listing whatever jobs you've had in a way that shows transferable skills that would make you be a great nutrition professional and be able to practice personalized nutrition. Okay, so for example, if you have customer service experience, right, then you're an individual who is experienced with talking and communicating with people in order to help them resolve an issue that they were having, right? Don't we utilize those skills in communicating with individuals to get them to a solution? So think about how as a customer service agent, you had to kind of be able to read through the lines sometimes in order to serve the person you are working with, to get them the solution that they needed. Isn't that a skill that we utilize as nutritionists to be able to get our clients and our patients to the solution that is desired for them? So think about listing your skills in that way. You may not have served an extensive amount of time as a nutritionist. You may only have a month, 2 months. You may just be getting out of your graduate program. You may not have had an extensive history of working with people in a nutrition or a healthcare setting, and that's okay. Just make sure, however, you list items on your resume in a way that shows those transferable skills that will support you being a great practitioner of personalized nutrition. So think about it in those terms, you all. I put off taking my exam and moving forward in the CNS process because I thought I had to have so much experience. And the truth of the matter is that you do not. These are preliminary steps in helping us to become credentialed. So your exam really is just testing your level of knowledge and competency at this point, not in comparison to those who are current CNSs, but kind of, because the exam is based off a job analysis study. So your resume is supporting the fact that you've completed the correct amount of education, and then it's providing the board a snapshot of who you are as an individual and your experience. We know that it requires us to be patient, for us to be a good guide, for us to be a good coach of sorts to our clients to get them to a certain goal. So when you're doing your resume, think along those terms to make it a little bit easier for you. It doesn't have to be elaborate. Just present the most authentic version of you. Tell them what you've done and submit it and move on to the next part of your application. It's just that simple. Don't make the resume part hard. Just give them what you got, list those transferable skills, and move on to the next requirement. And then we've already talked about the transcripts and the letters of recommendation. So once you get everything submitted, once your recommenders have sent in their letters, and once your transcripts have arrived, you're going to be reviewed by the board. All your paperwork is going to be reviewed by the board. And then as long as you're not missing anything and they don't have any questions or things to follow up with you on, you'll be approved to sit for the exam. And once you receive your approval letter from them, then you'll be able to, in your candidate portal, it should have your exam listed for $400, and you click Add to Cart. You add your exam to cart, and you can go ahead and pay for it. And once you pay for your exam, they should send you a confirmation. Now, this does not register you for your exam yet. Once that payment is submitted, you'll then receive another email from the ISO Quality Testing Center, And once you get an email from them, you'll be able to register for your exam date and time. And so there's a fee associated with registering for the test center. It's around $83. And with taxes, for me, it costed around $85. So that may be similar to you all. And you'll have to pay that fee directly to them in order to reserve your testing date and time and location. So keep that in mind. Once your application is approved, the ball will start rolling. You can apply for the exam. Then you can schedule at the testing center. Now, one of the things I want to encourage you to do is know your fees and your dates and stay as organized as you can during this process, just so nothing passes you by, because it's a lot to keep up with, especially if you've already started studying. Then wrapping up, the application and scheduling the exam. Make sure you do your best to stay organized. Make sure you know your fees and know your dates. Your application fee at the time of the recording of this video is $150. Your exam fee, $400. Your testing center fee, $83 and some change. So when it comes to applying for the CNS exam, a good budget of around $636 would be recommended. And making sure that you're able to access those funds at the time that you need to keep the ball rolling, just so you don't have any stalls. And if you're needing to have specific questions on turnaround times throughout the process, like when you need to have the money after you have been approved, you can reach out to the BCNS directly and they'll be able to answer your questions. So for this video, that's pretty much it. And I'm going to put a checklist at the end of this video of things to keep in mind, things to go do right after this video. The application process doesn't have to be hard and it doesn't have to be stressful. Just stay organized, know your testing fees and know your dates, and you'll be fine. And another note I wanted to say, you guys, was about the recommenders. Pick people who you trust to write you a great recommendation. Even if you haven't had a professional working relationship with them for a long period of time, don't feel like you're going to have to go and just grab a supervisor real quick, work with them for a period of time to be able to then have them write you a letter of recommendation. No. This can be people who you've worked with in any professional capacity, you all. The most you have is a professor. Maybe you did very well in a course that they taught. Ask them to write you a letter of recommendation. Tell them about why you want to be a certified nutrition specialist. Give them more information about CNS, about the CNS process and what is a CNS if they don't already know, and then see if they can write you a letter of recommendation. So whatever you need to do to take the pressure off as it pertains to this part, because I know anytime where we're having to wait on someone else to do something, it's kind of like, it can be challenging, but it doesn't have to be hard. And so I want to encourage you all to enjoy the CNS exam journey. It's a process and it's going to yield a great reward. And if you want my personal study blueprint that I use to prep and prepare for the CNS exam and pass on the first try, click the link in the description so you can grab access to that. I'll share with you and tell you about the resources I used, how to use them, and how to really approach studying for the CNS exam in an efficient way that's going to save you time and the hassle of having to do it all on your own. So check that out in the description below. Thank y'all so much for being here. Leave me a comment. Tell me about yourself. Hang in there. And remember, it's time to prep like you mean it. Thanks for tuning in to Nutrition Prep Notes, and stay tuned for your checklist in just a moment.